Hey everyone, how's it going? Uh, so, thank you for the introduction, Ramesh. My name is Imran Salamia, and as Ramesh introduced, I work as a senior machine learning engineer at Redbuffer. I'm also a GD in machine learning, and I have been an AI scholar at PySchool in 2018. Uh, let me share my screen to start with the presentation and the lab. Wait. Uh, okay. So basically, my talk today is going to be on serving TensorFlow models on Google Cloud Platform. Uh, this is relatively an intermediate level topic, not really advanced and not really beginner level. The reason behind that is I think Akshay has covered most of the TensorFlow basics, and I think we can now move on to how to serve these models and basically also train these models on Google Cloud Platform. Uh, so I'm just going to start ahead and move on with my presentation. Then I'm going to do a quick lab of training and serving these models on GCP. And there's a particular platform of GCP that we're going to use, which is called AI platform, right? Again, my introduction, as I've already said, simulation learning target of UDML and AI scholar at PySchool. So there's a note. The presentation assumes that the viewer is already familiar with the basic machine learning concepts, right? And I'm assuming that you've already taken the TensorFlow basics from and the AI introduction from AXA, and I'm going to continue from that, and then I'm going to also take questions along the way, right? Okay. So basically, what is TensorFlow? As Akshay has already mentioned, TensorFlow is basically a framework for machine learning applications and machine learning research. It's a community which is uh, mostly developed by Google community, and it has a lot of libraries and tools, right? Uh, so basically, what we do is we don't use the TensorFlow basics. What we do use is the TensorFlow higher level APIs, which include the TensorFlow estimators and the Keras. Now, TensorFlow has a lot of higher level APIs, but for training and serving, these two are used. There are other high level APIs like data, TensorFlow data, but we're not going to use them as much because our goal is to sort of uh, give an introduction of how to serve models and not how to manage data, right? So we're going to use the TensorFlow estimators or the Keras. And particularly in the lab, I use the estimators and I have a reason for that, and I will explain that while we're doing the lab, right? Uh, okay. Now, when we train our machine learning models, I could be on TensorFlow, it could be on Keras or PyTorch or any other framework of your choice. Now, once we've trained those models, we also need to serve these models somewhere so they can be used for inference, right? For predictions. Now, there are a couple of ways to do that. One simple way is to uh, make an instance and create a service or create could be any service, could be a RESTful API service, and uh, you could just uh, put your input through it and run the inference and get the output, right? Uh, but Google Cloud Platform provides a very simple and a very scalable way of doing that. Now, what is Google Cloud Platform is basically a set of computing services, cloud computing services offered by Google, just like Amazon's web services. But this one is by Google, and it has a lot of applications like IoTs, the AI platform, the compute engine, the storage, and all the cloud platform services, cloud computing services that usually is done by uh, historically, mostly it's done by Amazon, but now Google has launched its Google Web Platform, and we're going to use that. Since when you're using TensorFlow, it's a good idea to also use Google Web Platform because they're more both actually. TensorFlow is made by the Google community, so it's a it's a good practice. You can also set these models on AWS, and they also have a very good way of serving these models. Now, as I've mentioned that as a very simple way of serving models on GCP. Now, there's another way of serving models. It's basically using the Kubernetes engine, right? So what you do is you make a Kubernetes cluster and a lot of instances, and you serve your TensorFlow models over this compute engine, and you install a load balancer on it. Now, the reason behind that is you could have, for example, your application could have thousands of or millions of, or you don't know how many inference per second or per minute. So you want it to be scalable, right? So what you do is that you install a load balancer with on the overall Kubernetes engine, right? Uh, and then you serve your TensorFlow models, right? But this particular method is sort of how do I put it? It's a little complicated. It's not very complicated. It's a little complicated. So what Google Platform has done is that it has introduced us with a service. It's called AI Platform. Now, AI Platform provides a lot of tools, right? A lot of services under its umbrella. Uh, One of them is prepare, build, validate, and deploy. Now, in Prepare, you can label your data. You have your BigQuery. So BigQuery is basically the service that with which you can query your data sets like a normal with a normal SQL language. SQL. You can also train your models, which we will also do on the notebooks. We have AutoML and the training pipelines for those for the trainings, and then we have the validate, which have the AI explanation, which is a relatively newer tool by AI platform. We have Vertif tool and Visual. And the other one that is our main focus today is the prediction, which comes under the umbrella of deploy, right? So we have to train our models and then deploy on them in the Google Cloud Platform, right? And we have a lab for that, and we're going to go to that lab, right? I'm going to stop this presentation, and I'm going to start doing my lab. And while I'm doing the lab, I'll explain the code and the basics of Google Cloud Platform and how to set up your training and deploying pipeline over the Google Cloud Platform, Google Cloud GCP AI platform, right? I'm going to stop my presentation now, and I'm going to move to my lab. Now, this particular lab is also provided by Google. It's basically a lab on predicting house prices. It's a regression problem. I'm assuming that all of you are familiar with machine learning basics. So it's a regression problem where we're going to predict house prices. We're going to have a data set provided by the TensorFlow. We're going to train our model on the Google Cloud on the AI platform, and then also serve that model on the AI platform as well. And we're going to see how we can do that on the Google Cloud platform, right? I'm going to start my lab now. I'm assuming that you can see my screen. Let me just close all the other tabs, and okay. So this is a quick lab. Usually what happens is that while doing our sessions, we give quick lab promo codes to the users, to you guys. But the problem here is that you sort of people usually run with problems while doing that, and since it's my job to correct these problems, but since it's an online meet, so I won't be able to do that. So I prefer you guys instead of doing the lab, if you have GCP, instead of doing the lab, you guys can just focus on the on what I'm doing here, and then you can do that later. And if you have any questions while doing that, you can post them on the Facebook page or the YouTube link, and I'll look into those comments, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the lab. Okay. So QuickLab basically provides you uh, with a temporary Google Cloud account, uh, which is given here. So I'm going to open the console.cloud.google, and I have to use another account because this particular lab has provided me with a username, password, and a GCP project ID, right? Okay. Uh, Now, when you were doing the lab, these are the steps you're going to follow. So you have to see them very carefully. I'm using an account given to me by QuickLab, but you will have to use your own account for that. So as you can see, I have created my Google Cloud account, a temporary account, but you will use your own personal account. So this particular page is the GCP homepage. Right. Now here you have your project name, your project ID, and your resources. Currently, since this is a new temporary account, this has no resource assigned to it, and all of your services are listed here, which have the app engine, the compute engine, Kubernetes engine, cloud functions. Cloud functions are basically the replica of the AWS Lambda, and you have your storage, your the replica of S3. We're going to use that too because we have to save our model somewhere, right? So let's see what that lab tells us to do next, right? Okay. Now we're going to activate our shell. Now Google Cloud provides us with a console, so you can you so it's basically like a VM. It's a VM with which you can access your Google Cloud platform, and it's browser based, so you can actually do that over the browser as well, right? So it's this particular button. When you click on it, the shell activates, and it's on the lower part of your screen. I'm going to wait for it to activate. All right, it's activated. Now let's see if gcloud is enabled. Gcloud is a service which you can install with apt install or any service or any particular tool you use. Check. Okay, so it means the Google Cloud is actually installed. Let's see my project name. There is a command to check that, and it's given here. Let's see. First off, let's see the username which I'm logged in with. This one. Yes. Authorize. Okay. So the active account is student-01 with this particular ID. Uh, Now I have to check. So each Google console has uh, has some projects, right? And in each, so look at it this way: there's an organization. Let's assume there's an organization X, and that particular organization X has a couple of projects, right? Now, for each project, you can create another cloud console and another cloud platform under the umbrella of one organization. I'm going to check which particular project I am working on right now. Now, to do that, there's also another command called uh, cloud create projects. I think the command is wrong. Project, it's project, not projects. Sorry. So the project I'm currently working on is called QuickLab GCP-01 457 and the ID of that particular project. Okay. Now, since I've done that already, okay, the next step is to create a storage bucket. Now, the reason we need to create a storage bucket, as we do in the Amazon S3, it's basically the S3 replica in Google Cloud Platform. It's basically a storage bucket that we're going to create, and we're going to set the region to US Central 1. The reason behind creating a storage bucket is because we have to store our models somewhere, and we also have to and we're going to basically store those models on a bucket, and we're going to inference those models from to that bucket, right? So we're going to create a storage. Now let's see how to create a storage. We go to the storage and the browser. Just minimize that so we can see the whole screen. Okay, let's create a bucket. You can name your bucket anything. I'm going to name it, for example, GDG Cloud Fest. And I'm going to select a region, US Central 1. You can select any region you want, but the lab suggests that you select the Central 1 region. Continue, fine grained, and create. Now I have created an empty bucket called GDG Cloud DevFest 2020. Okay, and this basically is the bucket that we're going to use when we're going to train our models and store them. Okay. Now I'm going to check my progress if I've done everything right along the way, and yes. So we have completed the first part of the lab. Now, as I've mentioned, Google Cloud Platform provides a service called AI Platform, right? And under this service, we have a lot of tools that we can use. Particularly, what we're going to use is the Notebooks tool, on which we're going to train our models, and then we're going to use the Deploy tool to run the inference on our models. Basically, and we're going to basically serve those models, right? That we're going to train. So under the umbrella of artificial intelligence, there is an AI platform. Now, from the AI platform, I have selected the notebooks that we're going to use. Right. Okay. Let's create a new notebook of TensorFlow 1.15. We're not going to use any GPUs right now, right? Without GPUs. Now this notebook will already have the TensorFlow 1.15 installed on it. We can use TensorFlow 2.0 as well, but there is a particular reason we're going to use TensorFlow 1.15. One particular reason is that the lab suggests that we use the TensorFlow 1.15, and the other reason is that the in TensorFlow 2.0 and 2.x, we usually use the Keras higher level API, but we're going to use the estimated level API, and I have a reason for that as well. Once we see the code, I'll show you why we specifically use the estimator API instead of the Keras API. Now, this particular notebook is going to take 3 to 4 minutes to start. It's still running. Once it's started, we're going to log into that notebook, right? Okay. I'm going to see if you guys have any questions. I'm going to just log into my Facebook and check if you have any questions, or we can do that after the session. But let's see if you have any questions along the way right now. Okay. Let me just okay. I'm going to wait uh, for the notebook to start. Okay. So while we do that, can anyone tell me uh, the difference between the graphs and the sessions in the TensorFlow? Because we're going to actually, well, we're not going to cover that, but I would like to know, because we're using a high level API, and we should know uh, the uh, the the basics on which TensorFlow has built itself, right? So if you have if you know the answer, you can comment that on our Facebook page or YouTube. Hmm. I'm going to refresh that. Okay, notebook has been created. I don't think so. Let me check. No, it's still being created. No. Okay. So while the notebook is loading, I have to show you some stuff. The overview of the TensorFlow API, which is the TensorFlow estimator. Now the TensorFlow estimator has a lot of power, and one particular is you can train, evaluate, predict, and export for serving. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to use the training part, the prediction part, and the export for serving, right? Which is basically our main goal. Uh, and you can also use in one NVIDIA Tesla K80, or you can use any particular GPU you want, and the CUDA will be already be enabled on the notebook itself, right? Okay, so let's see if it's enabled. Okay, so our notebook has been, our Jupyter Lab has been created, and now we're going to open the terminal of that particular lab. Now, as you can see, this is very basic stuff. GCP has provided a very intuitive uh, layout, or very intuitive UI for the beginners to start on AI platform. This is like very basic stuff. I haven't done anything unusual. This is very simple stuff, and anyone can do that, right? Okay. Now let's see if what I've been doing right till now is correct or wrong. I'll check my progress. Yes. Uh, okay. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to is going to clone a repo which has the notebooks and the uh, has notebooks of the particular problem that we're going to solve, which is the housing crisis, right? And you can see I am cloning the repo here on my Jupyter Lab, and using the Jupyter Labs terminal that they have given me, right? Okay, let's. Okay. You can see that over here as well. Inside the blocks, they have given me housing prices demo. Going to open that now. I've opened a notebook of Cloud ML housing prices demo. Okay. All right. So we're going to start off with two libraries that we're going to be using: the Pandas library and the TensorFlow framework that we've discovered. What the Pandas library does is that it is a framework on which you can handle, manipulate, transform, and do stuff with your data frame, just like in the R language. But in Python, we use the Pandas library for that, right? And TensorFlow is a machine learning framework that we use. Okay. The next step is we're going to check the version of the TensorFlow we're using. It is the 1.15.3. Now, this particular diagram is very important for us, right? What you have to realize is that we're using the estimators API, the higher level API, and not the lower level Python API of TensorFlow, right? The mid-level APIs include layers, datasets, and metrics, and the estimators API has all of those combined. So it is basically a, a toned down version, or simpler version to use TensorFlow, right? And these are the steps that we're going to be using in our particular notebook. The first step is loading the raw data. Uh, we're going to load the data using the Pandas library, the data frame library, and then write the TensorFlow code, which will have the columns. We're going to define the columns that we're going to be using, the features that or the attributes that we're going to be training on, the estimator, we're going to cover that, and the input function. The input function and the serving function, they're very important. The input function defines the type of input that we're going to get, and the serving function is basically a function on which you're going to inference on, right? We're going to send your request on, and we're going to also define a training and evaluation loop, the training and evaluation function, and then we're going to package the whole code together, the train and then train it and deploy it and then get predictions, right? So the first step is we're going to read the data set. We're going to read a CSV from this particular URL, right? And we're going to use this particular features. Now I'm going to show what these features mean. We're going to load two types of data set: the training data set and the testing data set. Okay. Okay. We've loaded those data sets, right? uh, these are the first 5 rows of the training data set. Now, these are the features that we're going to be using. The CRIM is the per capita crime rate by town. The ZN is proportion of residential land zone for lots over 25,000 square feet. proportion of non-retail business acres per town. Now, these all features, they tell you the value of the house. They tell you the attributes of the house, the neighborhood. All those features that contribute in predicting a price of the house. If we can see that over in Pakistan as well, that there are some neighborhoods that are more expensive than the others, and there are particular reasons for that. Now, these reasons we're going to be using as our features, right? Now, what we're going to do next is basically tell the estimator in which format we should be expecting the data, right? So for training and for inference as well. The label is the MEDV, which is median value of owner occupied homes, basically the price of the house, right? And we're going to be using the TensorFlow feature column, numeric column. We're going to be making the list of these feature columns, right? Now the estimator has these four main functions. The fit function is used for training, the eval function for the evaluation, the predict for the prediction, and exports a model to write or model to a disk. Now these models these models can be saved to a disk or a bucket as well. We're going to be saving those models on the bucket and on the disk as well, right? Okay. Now as I've mentioned, uh, in the previous TensorFlow, what we had to do when we had to make a model or a deep neural network model, we had to define two particular basics. One was the graph, and the other one was the session. Now, the graph had all the model basics, all the model architecture. It's basically the input layer, the hidden layers, and we basically had to provide the placeholders and the variables were basically the uh, the data holders whose values are going to be changing when the graph is optimizing. The placeholders would be your inputs. Now the estimator function, it provides you a very high level API, and you just have to make a DNN regressor. You have, since it's a regression problem, we exported a DNN regressor. We tell them the number of the columns that we're tell them the columns that we're going to be using, and the hidden units. So the hidden units is basically a list which tells us there are two layers, two hidden layers, and each one has 10 neurons, right? And we also define the model directory where the output is going to be saved. Okay. Then we have defined our input function. Now, what does the input function do? The input function will have two particular uh, 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 inputs: the features, or it returns two particular outputs: the features and the labels, right? So once we have given it our input, it will convert them to the features and labels, and it will return it will return the input function, right? Features is a dictionary. Okay, so it's a dictionary of the key, basically a key value pair, where the key is the feature and the value are the values of for those particular feature, and labels is basically a simple, I wouldn't say list. It's a TF constant of the label values. Now the serving input function. We have to now assume that we have to deploy that model somewhere, right? We have to serve that model somewhere. Now, this particular model will need to cater for some input that we're going to be providing with our HTTP with our RESTful API, and it's going this serving input function is going to cater for that, right? Now, what does the serving input function has? It also returns a features set a tuple of features and uh, and the inputs, a dictionary of inputs the prediction server should expect from the user, right? Now let's run that cell. As you can see, we are using the export module of the estimator, and specifically the serving input receiver. And inside that, we've sent our features and the feature placeholders that we're going to be using. Placeholders are basically the types on which you don't specifically assign values, but you tell them the values that it should be expecting, right? And then we have, so basically this particular cell does nothing, it just combines all of that what we're doing into one particular cell. Okay, so this all of this code is basically this code combined into one cell. So this is nothing new here. Okay, now remember that we've created a bucket. We're going to we're going to assign the name that bucket here. Let's see, I don't remember the bucket name. Let's see the bucket name. Okay, our bucket name was GDG Cloud DevFest 2020. Our uh, project ID was this one, and the region was US Central one. Yes, we've added those variables to the environment, like in the terminal you do with export. We do that with os.environ in Python. So basically, instead of first assigning these tasks to the AI platform, what we do is we we first try to run it locally to see if we have any errors, and then we're going to train those models on the AI platform. Now, this one actually does nothing; it just tries to train the model locally. Now, basically, this what we've covered till now is not part of our is not really part of our object of our presentation. What we're going to do now is basically the whole crux of what we're doing. Right now, this is very important. Now, this here is a bash command. We're going to run it through our cell. It doesn't matter. You can run it through your terminal as well. Anyways, so this is the command with which you submit a training job to the AI platform, and you give some variables to it. Now the first name is the job name. You can use any job name. I've particularly used housing underscore the time format. So every time I run a job, it's with a unique name. The region that we're going to be using for that particular job, and now GCP computes on multiple regions. We're going to specify a particular region we're going to be using uh, for our job. The module name is trainer because we're going to train that task, and the package is the trainer that we have saved here. We have saved here using this particular cell. All right, and the job directory on which our models will be saved is this GCS bucket. This GCS bucket within the bucket called GDG Cloud DevFest 2020, and And inside that bucket, we've created a folder of the job name, and we're going to store our models there. And the output directory is also a local directory, which is here, output, and we're going to run that cell. Now, one particular thing to notice is that Google Cloud Platform or the AI platform also allows you to check the jobs, uh, the status of the jobs. Now we've submitted a job on the AI platform, the training job, and we can see the status of these jobs. Okay, you can see there's a job running which I have just submitted, and if once I open that job, it's a training job, and it's going to take around 3 to 4 minutes to run that job. Currently, it's only been 48 seconds, so it's going to take around 3 to 4 minutes to complete that training job, right? And you can also view your logs here. You can also view your logs. For example, for some reason your training does not complete. You can also see the logs and the failure point where your training stops. So I've already tested this lab, and there are no particular errors that we need to fix. Some warnings maybe, but no errors. And you can see that over here. These are the logs of your basically of your job, right? Okay. Another thing. Now there's this particular thing called the ML unit. Now the ML unit is, or the cloud ML units are basically what defines how much you're going to be spending on your particular task, right? Now this particular task that I've submitted uses one cloud ML unit. Now what if I want to run this job on a scale tier which is not standard, which is not basic, but is standard. Now, what is a basic? What is the difference between a scale tier? A basic scale tier will be just one instance running, and a standard one scale tier will have a distributed set of engines on which your training is going to be performed, right? Now this scale tier is very easy to manage. You just have to provide this particular line, the scale tier standard one, or any scale tier you want, uh, and you can tell your job to run parallel in a distributed fashion, in a distributed computing way, right? And you don't have to write any particular code in any different way. The TensorFlow estimator is going to take care of that. It's going to parallelize your code, and let's also submit this job as well. Another scale tier is the GPU scale tier. Now I can also submit my job and tell it to run on a GPU. And estimator is also going to take care of that. You don't have to write extra code for that. Estimator is going to just let the AI platform know, and it's going to train your model on a GPU. Submitted that job as well. You can also run your code on now these scales are defined, right? But you can also write your own custom scale. Now in this particular way, I've defined a scale tier which is called custom, and I've tell it to use the M GPUs. For example, in this case, I'm telling it to use 8 GPUs. Right? I've also submitted that job. Now let's see how many jobs I have running right now. All right, I have three major jobs. The first one has been completed. I have three jobs running, and one of them is a parallel job. No, two of them are parallel job. One of these parallel jobs is running on CPU, and the other one is running on GPUs. The other one is just a job which is using one GPU. Okay, so let's see. Let's wait for these jobs to end. It's only going to take 3 to 4 minutes. You can refresh for the latest time. Uh, Usually, one of them I think is going to take a little more time than the usual. It's going to take 5 minutes, but we're not going to wait for that much longer, right? Okay. Uh, in this particular cell, what we're doing is we're deploying our model for predictions. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, the AI platform also has a prediction tool, right? So what we've done is we've saved our models in the output, and now we're going to be uploading those models on the GCS bucket that we have created, so we can query those models or we can run inference through those models. All right, it's still running. Let's see the status of the jobs. Okay, they're still running. Now you can see that they all have the same dates. The only difference is probably the seconds, and in this particular one, the minute as well. Because we have ran them almost the same time, so the only difference is the second one. Now, usually these tasks should take less time, but they don't, which tells us distributed training is not the answer uh, to ML problems, but instead it's the GPUs. And there's a reason for that, and I'll let you answer that yourself. You can, if you know, you can also write that as a comment on Facebook. That's a great question. Why distributed training is taking longer than the usual one? That's a trick question. If you know the answer, you can comment that. Somehow still running. Okay, and this usually takes around 3 to 4 minutes as well. Uh, Once it's done, our models will also be trained. I'm assuming. Okay. Okay, it's done. So what we've done is we've uh, we've uploaded our models on the GCS, on the GCS bucket, on the Google Cloud Storage bucket. We have created, now this is the command to use. Google Cloud G-Cloud AI platform versions, create model version, model name, the model location, and the bucket on which we're going to be uploading it, right? And it takes around few minutes. Okay. Before we go into the predictions, we'll wait for one of the jobs to end. Okay, one of them is completed. The other ones are going to complete in almost the same time. Okay. Okay. So in the predictions, we've created a JSON of records. Now in this particular JSON, what we've done is that we've taken we've taken a key value pair of each feature. So basically there are two rows, and each feature has a value, and we're going to send that value to our model to get the required predictions, right? And we're going to use the G-Cloud AI Platform predict function, the predict umbrella of the AI platform. And we're going to specify in the model we're going to be using, which is the housing prices, and the input, basically the input. Now the input is in the JSON instances, which we have saved as registrar.json here, which is this one, this particular one. Okay, we cannot show that. Okay. If you want to run your terminal commands through the notebook, you have to specify an exclamation mark before running them. Let's run them. Right. So we have used the endpoint Google APIs ML, the AI platform API, and for these two rows, the output were these two particular values. So for the first row, the price of the house is $25,048, and for the second set of features, the price of the house is $19,894, right? And let's see if our models have been trained. No, they have not yet, apparently. Okay. So basically, this is the very basic idea of how to train and deploy your models on the Google Cloud platform. What we've covered the TensorFlow high-level API called Estimator API, and we've also covered how to deploy TensorFlow code for distributed training in the cloud. But we've noticed that distributed training does not work well. Instead, we have to use a GPU if we want to run it faster, and how to deploy the resulting model to the cloud for online prediction. This is the part that we actually had to cover, right? Which is our goal. We have to serve our models somewhere on the cloud so it can be scaled, and we don't have to take care of that. Now, for example, you send millions of requests uh, at one time. Now you don't have to worry about how it's going to scale. The AI platform is going to take care of that, and you don't have to worry anything about that, right? And these are the things that we haven't covered: the memory datasets, the larger datasets using TensorFlow's Turing system, synthetic features from our raw data to aid learning, feature engineering. We haven't done any feature engineering, by the way. How to improve model performance. And okay, so there's another particular service by AI platform, which is called the hyperparameter tuning. So basically, what we've done is that we've given a set of hyperparameters. Hyperparameters are the parameters that are not trainable, but they serve as, they also contribute to how well your training process has gone. So since we don't train them, we have to select them specifically, and the GCP provides a very good hyperparameter tuning platform on which you can actually fine tune your hyperparameters. You can give a range, and then it's going to fine tune it yourself. We haven't covered that as well. So let's see if the jobs have been completed. Yes, one of them has been completed. Only one is remaining. It should complete in a minute or two. Okay. Uh, so as I've said, this is a very basic lab, and the reason I've used TensorFlow Estimator is because it's a little more complicated than the Keras API. Now, if you have mastered this estimator, TensorFlow estimators, the Keras API is going to be a piece of cake for you guys. So uh, I would suggest you go through the TensorFlow estimators while you're deploying your models or serving your models on the AI platform. And once you've done that, the Keras API, the Keras high level API is just a piece of cake. So you don't have to worry about that anything anymore, right? Okay, let's see. Still running somehow. Let's see the logs. Okay, one thing I have to admit is that the logs of GCP are not as well as the AWS ones, but they're still working on it, and it's still better than what they had before. Still much better than what they had before, and it's still getting better. But you have to be very careful while you're checking the logs because some errors. So for example, there are 49 errors, but these are not your errors. These are the ML cloud ML job errors. You don't have to worry about it. So you have to be very careful while you're checking out the logs. Uh, Preparing also, it's in the preparing phase, so it should not take much longer. Anyways, the lab is completed. If ask it to check my progress, it's going to say I have not completed the task because one of my jobs is still running. Oh, it actually says I've completed the job. No, I think no. No, since one of my job is running, I cannot mark it as complete. So, anyways, this is the main idea of training and deploying your models on on the GCP. The other method is using the Kubernetes engine with a load balancer, but this is a more simpler way and a more efficient way. So I prefer you guys, if you ever come across this, use this one. Uh, okay, I'm going to stop my sharing now, and if you have any questions, I'm open to them right now.